welcome, Autumn.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I know most songwriters, I know certainly top liners, start out as artists. I started out as an artist as well.
So I was in a girl group for about 4 years, and I wasn't writing songs. I tried to write songs, and our producers and we had writers said I wasn't good at it, so I believed them, and I'm pretty sure I wasn't good at it. And we were a girl group for about 3 or 4 years. We got some sort of deal happening with like BMG Germany, and then we broke up. So while I was doing that, I was also a session singer doing jingles. I was a background singer. I sang for like Marilyn McCoo. I sang for Letterman, Jimmy Fallon, tons of work. I was just always a working artist, and I was writing songs, and I was doing like a lot of BB vocals for like Dancing with the Stars or all these backing tracks that they don't have the licensing to use the original song. I was doing a lot of the fake versions, the cover versions. And
So did you have a studio already? Did you know how to work a studio, or are you working with other people?
That's a great question. So I went to college for 1 semester to Baruch College, and left. And I told my mom I wanted to just pursue music and just go for it. So my mom actually funded my home studio. And so I was recording myself and started recording rappers and stuff, engineering at like 19. It was so crazy. My mom let me do that. Literally just having rappers coming in and out of our house that I barely knew. I was like, yeah, I could cut your vocals. Like, what do you need? What do you need? You know, I was like, I don't know what. And they sounded horrible. I'm really sorry. And I apologize to those people right now. But yeah, so like, I don't know. But it was fun. So, you know, we did this tribute show. We were in this band, and while I was working as a gigging artist, we had a bunch of residencies. You know, we were part of the West Village scene. And then we met Swiss Beats. So then we worked with Swiss Beats for a couple years. He put me on a Bone Thugs and Harmony album. We did a bunch of things together. He was super supportive of us. But I just felt like we weren't gonna quite get the attention we needed at the time, and the label wasn't really focusing on producing new artists. So basically, I really, really, really wanted to get a shot at songwriting. So I knew I needed to build a catalog, and I just didn't have enough produced demos. So at this time, I was an assistant manager at a shoe store called Aerosols, working full time. I was in a wedding band on the weekends, and I was in my own band. So I was literally working, like, I'm not joking, like 80, 90 hours a week. It was so unhealthy. I don't recommend it. I got very sick doing this, and I was severely underweight just because I couldn't even eat enough to be healthy. And it just was not a good time. But anyway, I was like, I need to write something so I can quit my job. So over that year, I would work full time, leave work either at 6 or 8 o'clock, depending on my shift. There was a studio I was using in New Jersey, which was a 2-hour commute. I would get to that studio, write a song, demo it, and get home. I would get rides sometimes from the interns. Those interns are now super producers called Rice and Peas.
Oh,
who have produced. Yeah. So those were like my little brothers who would literally drive me home after writing demos as I'm trying to get my stuff together. Which is crazy to see them like killing it right now. And like now we started writing together again. So yeah, basically I needed to write something so I could quit my job. I started reading Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth, which was like a big wow for me. And I booked a whole week of, so after a year, I had a week of paid vacation because in America, you don't get vacations. So I saved up a week of paid vacation, got a hotel room near the studio so I didn't have to commute for 4 hours, round trip. And I said, I need to write something this week so I can quit my job. And I said it and I claimed it and I believed it. So on the third day of that week of writing, and by the way, when I say I'm writing, I'm just writing to tracks alone. I don't have any co-writers. There's no producers. There wasn't a bunch of people lining up to work with me or anything. So it's just me writing to tracks. So
right. tracks that people have sent to you or tracks that you've done yourself?
Tracks that people have sent to me or that I found, so I was given this very long Dead Mouse instrumental, Brazil, which was like almost 6 minutes long, wasn't formatted or anything. And someone said, try to write something over this track. You probably can't write a song over it, just like a chant or something, but like everyone has tried to do this song. Just go for it, whatever. And I'm like, okay, who made the track? It was like some guy, Dead Mouse. I never heard of Dead Mouse at the time. This is 2009. This was before he like had this like big MTV moment and everything. So I put the track on and just approached it like any other song. I'm like, okay, what's going to be the verse? What could be a pre? What could be a chorus? And at the time, I didn't realize that was kind of producing. So, I reformatted the track, cut it up, and in about 3 or 4 hours, wrote a song called Happiness. And after I was done, I turned it in. I was like, I don't know what this is. It doesn't really sound like anything. I don't know. And then I played it for the people at the studio, and they were like, this is cool. I'm like, is it? So after I wrote that song, I got to Danny D, and he loved it, who's my current publisher. And this song was crazy. So this song was originally cut on a different artist who cut it 3 times for a deal in Japan. Basically, she did several versions and it just never sounded right. It didn't sound right because it's really an R&B pop top line and her voice just didn't lean towards that genre of music. But it was kind of being forced. So she had a meeting with her label and something went wrong. It just didn't go well. So now all of a sudden the song was a free agent. Then we discussed putting it out with a cartoon. We had all these ideas. None of them happened. So then it got to Tor Mikkel, Stargate. And they heard the song and they just signed this girl, Alexis Jordan, off of YouTube's. They saw of her singing their songs that they've written, and she was on America's Got Talent. So they were like, we just signed this girl. This song might be perfect for her, blah, blah, blah. So they cut it on her. And next thing you know, I went and met with them and heard what they did, and I was like, wow. And then I was offered a publishing deal, and that's how it happened.
Stargate are songwriters themselves. So you kind of, they took your finished song, your finished top line, and just kind of spruced it up, I guess. And then
they just recorded her vocal.
They recorded her vocal.
The song is identical production wise and song wise to my demo, but they produced her vocal. And what they did was that melody, it's like, and happiness with you. They had her singing that on the last chorus in full voice, where my demo, that part was always in her head voice. And it just really made it, really powerful to hear her sing that full voice, which was awesome. So yeah, they did great vocal production on that.
Mm. So that's what kind of got you signed to Stellar after that then, or yeah.
That got me signed to Stellar, and then I basically wrote her next 2 singles. And it was a great door opener. I'd never even been to Europe, the UK, like I'd never been anywhere really besides Mexico and Vegas up until that point. So it was so exciting to like come to the UK.
Yeah, and you've done a lot of work over here. So would you consider that to have been like the most pivotal kind of moment for your career?
Absolutely. Like just having a song like that as a door opener, also with an artist that was totally unknown, a super new artist without a lot of promotion. And, to have written the top line 100%, it goes a long way. It opens a lot of doors because it's like you get to be put in sessions without other writers, and you can kind of stand on your own a bit. And I felt like it's interesting. So I was always writing alone, but then once after Happiness and a couple other songs, and I started coming to LA, the whole co-writing culture was so foreign to me. I was like, wait, what do you mean? You want me to write with another writer? Like, how do you do it? You know, it was something I had to learn and something that was not natural to me at all.
So that kind of brings us to another question. Like, what have you learned about to get a good co-writing session? Because we all have kind of amazing co-writing sessions, and then sometimes it's just not, the chemistry just isn't there. What would you say are important tools for co-writing?
Personally, for me, for co-writing, I just have to like the person and it has to be fun. You know, it just has to be fun. Like a lot of songs I've written, you know, it's like I wasn't into co-writing, but if you put me with an artist, I'm great for co-writing. It's the same thing, but the difference is like the focus is of the artist. So it's like we're working on their story. So and I'm super into whatever artist I'm with. So it's just kind of like the it just has to feel fun and like a vibe and yeah, and just interesting. Like I tend to write with a lot of women um or John Batiste mostly, but like yeah, just a lot of women who I think are fun friends, you know, and I'm like if we weren't doing this, we'd probably be having a drink. So like we can just do the same thing and make a song basically.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the best songs always come out of having fun. Do you kind of start off with just having a bit of a catch up at the beginning of the?
Absolutely. I'm so big on the hang and the talk. Even when we were back doing in-person sessions, I might spend the first 2 hours of a session just talking. And it drives me crazy if the producer isn't on that wavelength and they're like, oh, I just want to play my beats or I just want to get to the song. And I'm like, dude, please don't do that because it's so easy for us to write a song in 30 minutes. But like the hardest thing is to just know what we're talking about and for the song to feel honest and authentic and to be real. That's the hard part. So this time is really, really crucial because yeah, I can write a song really fast, but like it's gonna be about nothing. So let's just get some sincerity in the moment. And that's really important to me.
How do you think that works with Zoom? I mean, because it's a different kind of, you're not kind of hanging in the same way as you hang in the studio.
That's a good question. So I actually I met my new favorite producer is a woman. Her name is Mona, and she's based in Sweden. Actually, I should introduce you if you don't know her. I met her and Shun through a Zoom, through a K-pop camp, and it was such a late Zoom for me. It started at like 9 p.m. and we spent about 3 hours talking on the Zoom. I don't know what was going on with us, but we just started diving into like our deepest family problems and like our our relationships and all kinds of like super deep exposed things immediately. And we just couldn't stop talking, the three of us, for 3 hours. And then after that, we wrote a song. And since then, we've done 3 sessions. And it's just always fun and a good time. And that was like the first time I had like a really, really awesome Zoom session.
So how do you
So it
work
can
then?
be done.
Yeah, so how do you work then? Because obviously, yes, you can use audio movers and you know, that kind of technology. It's still, you do have latency. Do you write a track there? Do you work on like guitar or keyboards, or how does that, or do you kind of send one person away to do a track and then you just work on the top line?
How it works with us is Mona will send over like a few like track ideas, and we'll all decide on the one we're gonna do for the day. And then Shun and I will mute our computers and record some melodies and ideas on our whatever we're using. I'm using Logic, and then we're like still on Zoom, so we'll take like 15 minutes to do this. Then we'll all submit them into the chat, and then we'll all go through the ideas we have and then pick the best ones and then format them on the track, and then we fill in the lyrics, and it's really fast.
all these things that we never did before. But if there's one thing that musicians do, they know how to roll with the punches and be flexible. I think that's definitely something that's why I think musicians and creators somehow manage to kind of survive this crazy time with the pandemic, because we're so used to being flexible with income, being flexible with creativity, being able to write in the weirdest places. And what I wanted to ask you is, if somebody started out today, right, what are the 3 things that you wish you would have known when you started out?
Only 3.
Well, you can say more. You can say more than 3. Minimum of 3.
uh, some of the things I wish I knew when I started out. For one, I wish I knew that you don't need to work so hard. And I say that because it's only in the last couple years I started writing a lot less and having better results. I used to write, I'm from New York, which is such a hustle mentality. And we're really taught you got to work 24 hours a day, no nonstop, the hustle, blah, blah, blah. And it's just not true, And I used to write, do 5 to 8 sessions a week. I was Everyone that knows me would say I was the hardest working person they knew, besides Beyonce, of course. Um, like everyone would say that because I worked so hard. And the years I worked the hardest were my least productive.
Wow.
Looking back, the years I did the double sessions, those were the least productive of my career. I had so few cuts and it just was a blur. It was just like a pop factory of blahness, of just going through the motions, but not creating cultural moments, not creating something that really was going to connect with people. You don't have to say yes to everything, just because someone offers you a session doesn't mean it's the right session for you. And that's another thing, I was saying yes way too much and being afraid to miss opportunities. That's just something, it just took a long time to realize that. Also, like, it just took a long time to realize, I wish I knew, take more time to live. If you're on a writing trip somewhere and they're sending you somewhere cool, take a couple extra days and explore the country. Go shopping, like take time for yourself. When Happiness was selected for the World Cup in Germany, I should have gone to Germany. I still haven't been to Germany. And how awesome would that have been to like sit there and hear the song at the World Cup? And, I thought about it. I was in London and I was like, oh, I could just go to Germany. But at the time, I just didn't have that mindset to like do stuff like that. So I kind of wish someone just shook me and was like, girl, go live, please. Go do shit and just like go live. It's not just about being in the studio. It's not just about the song. You don't have to write 15 hours a day. You have to have a life.
To fill the well with you, otherwise what do you have to write about?
Exactly. I wish I was tougher with some percentages and different splits and just a lot of things I deserved that I didn't fight for. And just certain contracts, a lot of things I just really was a bit naive and young and too trusting and didn't quite understand my worth. So looking back, I would have gone a lot harder for a lot of things. So
Songwriters hate to discuss splits because it feels like giving somebody a prenup on the first date. But if you don't discuss it, then it's definitely you're going to have some serious issues later on, because we all have our own assumptions of what the split should be.
yeah, we do. And it is awkward. Songwriters, I don't think like being in awkward situations that are, you know, like cringy. And it is cringy to be like, "Argh." I never do splits in the session. I'm just never comfortable with it. But it's a weird one because so often when you have like a pop hit or something that feels like it could be a hit, it just, all of a sudden there's a bunch of other names on the song without without fail. It just is the way it is. You know, all of a sudden the producer has several people working on the track that you didn't know about. And you know, it's just the way it is. Sometimes you just have to take it. I think for new artists, I think it's very rare for a new artist to not get screwed in the beginning in some way. It's just very hard, you know. With Happiness, I didn't get as big of a share as I should have. And a big part of that is just because deadmau5, first of all, said no for anyone else using that track. Several people have asked him, and he's really not a fan of like pop music, I don't think. So, you know, I still got a decent share, but not as much as I should have gotten. And I felt like, well, that's just kind of the hit I got to take as a new writer. So what can you do? But people will try it on you. I think you can't be too afraid though to say no, because if they really want the song, they're gonna kind of take it anyway, right? They're not gonna say no. So
Yeah, I think it's difficult. You know, it's always because it if you want to work with somebody in the future, you always think, oh well, you know, I don't want to piss that person off, or you
but you
know.
know what? Anytime someone has said, oh, like I normally give the artist equal share if we're writing a song together, even if they didn't write. And every time I've done that and the label said, oh, give them a share, we're gonna include you on the next album, they've never have. They've never remembered me on the next album. It's like always, it's always bit me in the ass. So I don't know. I guess that's another lesson.
Yeah, no, I know it's a big discussion right now, the whole thing of like, you know, not having, if you haven't contributed, then you shouldn't get a share. What would you say are the most important tools for songwriting? Are there any tools for songwriting? You
Okay.
got your producer as well, so do you?
For me, the most important tool for songwriting is openness. Like, I feel like a lot of songs right are in the air. I don't know, and we just like grab them, right? They're already there. Like I don't even feel like I'm a songwriter. I feel like I'm just like a person that was receiving something, and like then I was able to spit it out somehow. But yeah, I feel like just kind of this like openness, this open energy to receive emotion and to tell people stories and to have empathy is like such an incredible tool. And honesty are really important for me. Another tool is just I think being real with yourself of like what do you like, what you don't like, even if it's not popular, and just creating music that you love and without fear. It's easy to fall into fear of I met some writers and artists who I met at the beginning of their career and have seen them, you know, the last couple years, and it's interesting to see how people have changed and lost the light and excitement for music because they've been so kind of like beat down of like, well, I, you know, when I met them they were so hopeful and like joyous and like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and now it's just kind of like, yeah, it's just write another song, you know. It's such a tool to keep your light and to keep the enthusiasm and whatever you need to do to maintain that. Like for me, a couple years ago I was like, I was coaching America's Got Talent and I wasn't writing as much. And I was like, I still, how do I keep myself excited about music? And I started to DJ. So I went to DJ school, and DJing was great because all of a sudden I'm super immersed in top 40. I'm super immersed in hip hop again. I'm immersed in rap. You know, I wasn't a big fan of trap at first. You know, I'm from New York. I like kind of old school hip hop. But then all of a sudden I was into trap, and it just like immersed me in the new culture, which then reflected in my writing. And then my writing started changing and becoming more, it just was evolving. And I think you got to keep finding tools to evolve and stay relevant and stay connected to the culture, whatever that may be. That's your muse of inspiration. It might be an artist, it might be, just find whatever it is, but don't let yourself become dark.
Yeah.
Don't lose your light, you know.
learn new things, I guess. I just heard an interview with FK Twigs, and she's just studying um, uh, the first grade of piano. So, which I think is amazing, at her level, that there's always, you find something new that you want to learn to improve and keep the interest up.
I think that's awesome. I might be right behind her. Also, I just want to say, like, in this pandemic, I had to learn Logic and, buy studio equipment, which I didn't own a year ago. I didn't have any of this stuff. And that's been a big learning curve. I think every writer right now, if you're not, like, if this is the one thing you take away from this interview, become self-sufficient at recording yourself and just get a basic template, get someone to hook you up. Hook up, if you don't, hook up Mike Molina on Instagram. This guy's the best, pay him. So like he hooks me up. He's amazing. But he's a dope producer too. But like, yeah, like if you are not self-sufficient right now during this pandemic time and you're just kind of relying on co-writes, where you can't record yourself or hoping the other writer can record, I think it's going to be really challenging to sustain yourself in this unforeseeable climate. So that's my advice to anyone.
You can find videos on YouTube. I think that's, even for me, because with Logic, I'm largely self-taught, but YouTube is actually quite good with that.
I'm terrible. I know I'm so bad. It's so embarrassing when I send stems. I was better on Ableton, but because I went to school and took some classes in Ableton, but Logic for me has just always been a weird one. I'm just getting better through trial and error. And every time I send some stems, I like text the producer like, I think I'm messing up something. Can you just give me some advice? And then little advice here, little advice there. I do have a hard time with YouTube because I'm such a hands-on learner that I need to do it. And then you tell me, is it right or not? I'm not that great at just watching something. So it's harder for me, but I might just take an online course if I can find a teacher possibly.
Never think that you're done, that you can, there's always more to learn. And with do you ever get writer's block?
I don't really get writer's block. It's weird. Like when I write, I tend to play a track really loud in like a trance state. And I might play it for like 2 hours sometimes just on loop. And I don't want to break. I want the loop to be continuous. It's very weird. And I have to get into like this super trance where then I start hearing things that don't exist, or hearing emotions and hearing all kinds of things. And I might hear the track at first and not have any ideas, but I'll play it so long that I'll start hearing things. And I don't know what that is, but that's how I've always avoided writer's block. So like if someone just put the track on and expect me to just sing melodies, very often I might not have anything, but I need to wait. I just say, oh, I gotta wait. And I'll just sit there and play it for like 2 hours. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm waiting. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for the concept. I'm waiting for something to spark. And that's how I've always avoided writer's block.
So you do melody before lyrics then?
It's like kind of like an emotion or concept. Okay, before COVID, I used to always write off of a concept. So I would have concepts like titles. I would always collect a list of titles. I'm super big on that. I still do that. But then with COVID, my writing style has changed in that this is the first time I've started doing melodies first. And it's because I now have a home setup where I can just sing into this vocal chain and just vibe out. And that's something I've never done. When I first signed to Stellar Songs and started working with Stargate, basically like how they would train me is I would have to write the entire song and sing the whole song in the room a cappella. And if it was not approved, I wouldn't get to record it. So I just kept that style of writing. Like I would write a song, everything fully done, and then I would sing it to the producer.
We get into the business part of being a songwriter. you have a publisher. What do you think a publisher should do for you?
I think a publisher is a lot of different things to different people. So I think ideally you want a publisher to be someone that's financing you, so you can be free to create music without worrying about making money, but also putting you in the right situations with the right relationships, the right co-writes, and so you can make that money back and sustain yourself and have a long career. But I don't think that means that for a lot of people. For me personally, when I first signed, it was EMI, and Stellar, and my publishers were heavily involved. EMI was incredible. It was just such a tight ship. It was amazing. And they definitely put me in great situations, but they always like, let me say this to a lot of new writers. You might have a great manager and great publisher, but it's really up to you to grow these relationships. So get everyone's phone number, get everyone's email, hang out with these people, be friendly with these people. It's not up for your management and publishers to do all the work in that way. So at this point in my career, I feel like they're very little involved. I would like more involvement, but my management is pretty cool and involved. But on the publishing side, not very involved. Most of the stuff just happens organically, and I think one kind of downfall when you've been doing this for a long time is people just assume you're so self-sufficient and that you can just everyone.
When I first signed my deal, I figured, okay, I'm just gonna look at them as a bank, and anything that's above that is like just cream on the on it. So they surprise me if they got me cuts, or they surprise me if they get me with people. But I think I've always had the view that the person who's got me as a top priority is me. Always. So relying on other people, is difficult. Sitting at home and waiting for other people to hook you up is not a way of getting what you want in the end. And
it's a very difficult way to survive.
Yeah, and I speaking of that, I know we've spoken here in the UK. We have our fixed streaming campaign going on. What is your view of how songwriter royalties and revenue work at the moment, or isn't working?
I think it's a disgrace. I mean, I'm very vocal about this. I think streaming and the deals the labels have done with the streaming services, and just the fact that the songwriters were not accounted for, is just disgusting. It's just disgusting. We should be getting paid. The amount of money people are making compared to what we're making is enough to make you want to quit. It's enough to really just say, why someone making minimum wage might be making more than you for a song that you have, a lower split that has millions and millions of streams. And people can say, oh, but that song only took, 6 hours to make. No, that song took 12 years to make, dude, because it was 12 years of that person doing thousands of sessions and working up to this song that finally got here, and they're not getting paid fairly for it. So I really think it should be fixed. I like what the other songs has been doing, where they're giving points from the label side, and that whole mindset I think is really interesting. I think that is the forward thinking, and it's going to be difficult, but we need to fight for it. We need to fight for points. We need to fight for everything we can. We need to we need to be united, in this front.
Amen to that. You're not going to get any resistance from me. We at the Ives Academy, Joel, who's on the songwriter committee, he has a Wellness Wednesday, and we're talking about mental health. And I think it's really difficult in particular right now, also with, well, always, but now when you're sitting alone a lot of the time, and all you see is, you know, people's Instagrams post, and you might think, God, everybody else is being so much more productive, and how do you deal with that?
Listen, I do not compare myself to other people. The fact, so, okay, I'll try to sum this up quick. I come from the South Bronx. I grew up so poor. I had such an unbelievable hurdle to overcome such at a very young age that when I see these like Instagram and these kind of like superficial problems, it's a joke to me. You know, when I moved to LA and the Hollywood problems, it was funny. I'm like, these are not real problems. You know, where I'm from, people are starving. Like, you look out your window and you get shot. These are not real problems. These are high class problems. So I love it, social media. I love Instagram. I love Twitter. I'm very vocal on it. I love it because it's what you want it to be, right? So social media is a tool. I love it because you can really outreach people. You can inspire people. You can. I've made so many friends and so many connections through social media. It's just incredible. I love it, love it, love it. But I think a really important thing that people need to take away from this is, do you want to give or do you want to receive? So how are you using this tool? Are you using this tool as a tool of judgment, or are you using this tool as, what can I give to the world? So if you're giving this is a tool, what can I give to the world? I'm giving this experience. I'm giving this inspiration. I'm going to help these people. When I post this might help this one person. Or is it, oh, everyone's looking at me, my outfit, my body, my judgment? That's not the way to use social media if you want to have a healthy relationship with it.
Great. And this is going out on Instagram, so it's something positive. You're positive right there. Thank you so much, Autumn.
Thank you. You're amazing. And thank you for everything you're doing all the time.
Oh, my pleasure. You too. And I can't wait when we can be in the same room and we can write some music.
That would be
Or on
sick.
Zoom.
I'm down for a Zoom. I'm down for a Zoom, girl.